Hello everyone. I'm here to give you another update on the representation map application that I've been working on. And honestly, there's not too much to be talked about today because I've been quite busy. But I did get some nice front end and visual features done over the last 2 weeks, which I'll just go over shortly. So yeah, still using D3JS, which is stands for data-driven documents, and it can generate all sorts of geometry and data on the fly, which is very useful. So what I've added on here is basically, you might notice I have added the rest of Ireland. It's a bit darker than the rest of the map because you can't actually do anything with it, but you can click on the rest of the map. And one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to add in things like scrolling and panning, because I knew that if people are using this map, they want to be able to actually navigate it nicely. And so yeah, you can do that. You could zoom in, zoom out. There's a weird thing happening on the top of the screen there, which I'll probably have to sort out. And yeah, definitely there's a few things that need to be worked on, like for example, being able to pan all the way to middle of nowhere. You want to be able to keep the map on screen. And there's quite a few things I've been doing. And then one of the things I've done recently, which is a bit more complicated, was adding it so it will scroll to the areas you select. So for example, if you select that, it will zoom there. It's a bit laggy at the moment. I need to probably improve that. But yeah, so it will zoom to wherever you select. And what's nice is that if you select a group, so for example, Labour, it will zoom to the bounding box, which is, the basically fit it into the view wherever you select. So like if we go speaker, which is one area in London, actually it doesn't zoom in for that one. That's probably worth looking into. I haven't tested them all. This and fine, I think that's how you say it. And then if we go S&P, it should go to Scotland. But you can do as well with counties, so London or West Midlands. So, and then you can reset it, of course. So that can be quite useful. Obviously, I've been trying to just make sure that the user interface is good. So just in a nutshell, the way it works here is that if you go for, say, this, it will look for the upper leftmost point and the bottom rightmost point, and it will basically just use the it's quite complicated really to explain, but basically it'll try and find out where is the map's current location, where does it need to be, and what does it need to scale to have that area that you selected in the bounds or in the view. And it goes a bit more complicated if you actually select groups like, say, West Midlands there, where it's actually going to select, it'll go find all out of this entire selection which one is at the topmost point. So that one there. I've just run my selection there. Which one's at the first leftmost point? So that would be this one here. And then which one is the bottommost point? Would be that one there. And then finally, which one's at the rightmost point? Which is that one there. And it will basically do some basic addition and subtraction to find out where the top left is, using that far left one and the up topmost one. And it'll find out where the bottom right is using the bottommost one and the furthest rightmost one. And then it will basically draw a line from the top left to the bottom right and basically figure out what that scale is. And it will zoom to that scale and zoom to that position using the coordinates. So it's a bit simple. When I'm not going to get the code up now, but it's a bit simple to figure out really. There's a few things that need to be tweaked, I think. Like I mentioned, there's it to being able to scroll to the middle of nowhere. That lag is not great. And I'm trying to decide whether or not to allow users to zoom in further. It can get a bit weird if you zoom in too closely, it gets a bit blocky. But there's some of these smaller constituencies. There's other little visual changes like having labels on the map that I might want to add. You might see this area on the right that's a bit great, that's darker, similar to the left. The area on the right is going to be used to display the statistics, so like the representation of a county or party. And yeah, it'll just gather that data. Another thing I've been doing over the last week or so is just getting all the information on Brexit, which is a bit more difficult. Finding out the information on the constituencies is quite easy because they've actually got definitive data for that. But finding out the data for the MPs is a lot more complicated. So I'll be trying to figure that one out and see how that gets on. If you happen to know of anything that I could use, then please do get in touch. Let me know, because all help would be very much appreciated. And if you've got any ideas for the user interface here, then also get in touch. Just comment down below. Let me know what you think could be improved about this application. What could it do with? What might it be missing? And hopefully, the next thing I want to get done is just getting the Brexit data up there and figuring out what the MPs, whether they are for or against, whether they represent the constituencies accurately. And hopefully after that, I'll be able to expand that to further positions, further things like, let's see, I'm trying to think of a good example. So one example might be the, actually, honestly, I don't know what we've had, but it would need to be things where there've been a big referenda across the country, or where there's consistent data that can be evaluated for all the constituencies, which is obviously not an easy task. Things like general elections and referendums are held nationwide, so it's easy to get that information, but it's not so easy to figure out whether or not they're actually representing a certain issue. One thing I might do, just thought of this now, is perhaps it'll require some sort of crowd-based sourcing, but basically evaluating elected MPs on their policies and how well they push for those policies, whether or not they try and achieve the goals they set out to in their election. I'll look into that. So that's all I got, really. It's not much, I know, but if you're interested in any of the technical side of what I've been doing, then let me know. I'll see about trying to explain some of it, maybe providing code if you'd like to see it, really, because I don't mind being transparent about that. But yeah, so most of this is going on, it's just all within the D3JS library, which handles all the zooming and transforming and scaling and so on. Anyway, so that's all for now. Hopefully my next update will have more data-based stuff, and that should be, honestly, by the time that's done, I'll think this application might be in a finished state, but obviously it'll need some testing and some mobile stuff as well. Anyway, that's all from me. Till the next update.